Yeah.
You sound like Bono from U2.
It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a modern podcast where we talk about everything that's great, like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh yeah.
Hello everyone and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love TV, movies, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris Dillard.
And my name is Mike Royer.
On this week's Superhero Slate, we're lamenting the loss of San Diego Comic-Con with Mike's coughing.
Oh, tears. Yes, I'm not infected as far as I know. This is just a normal cough.
We're also going to be discussing how Sam Raimi is confirmed to join the MCU, Mike. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. schedules its final goodbye.
Na.
Yep, and more.
Yep. And more. Yes. If you can tell, you'll hear two things on the podcast today. Hopefully not too much more coughing from me. I'm very chill right now. I woke up not too long ago. Chris is a little bit more seasoned into his day.
Yeah.
So I'm just like kind of slowly gliding through the podcast. I think it'll be a good time. The other thing that you'll hear is sometimes you might have heard in the past, I think is going to be Chris's brand new keyboard.
That's right. So this week I've decided to up my... my home thing here. I have an iMac. I do all my work on here for the show and for everything else I do. And I've been using the included Apple wireless keyboard and mouse. They're great, right? Everything works together. Very simple. But, over years, things wear down. You're like, this isn't reacting as well as it should. The mouse, I have to adjust it all the time. So I went out this week and bought myself a... what would someone consider a pro gamer move, and got me a gaming mouse and keyboard that are very, very fancy, as they have RGB lights under every key, and you can set profiles and all that other fun stuff, but it is a mechanical keyboard, and you can hear me I'm not even typing, I'm just running my fingers over the keys. This is very loud. It's a very loud keyboard, but that's okay. I'm excited to have this. I'm very excited. I've been showing Mike photos and videos of this, like it's like a little side project I've been working on. But I don't know if I told you this as well, Mike, but because of this, I'm starting to set, like, Xbox and PlayStation have streaming apps you can get, so you can play them, like, through a computer in your house. And I went ahead and put my Hue color lights above me, so if I want to play on my Xbox or PlayStation here on this computer, my lights will sync up with the games in the room I'm playing, which... It's a smaller room. Yeah. It's a very small office, so it works.
I just find this so comical because if the listeners out there have been keeping up with kind of like your home improvement just tweaks over the years of the podcast, they will come to the conclusion that every light bulb in your home is an LED color changing light bulb, and I can just like only imagine the day like some sort of virus gets into your home network and the lights just start flashing 1,000 different colors, and you think you're like having a seizure or something like that, but it's just your lights are bugging out, and then it's kind of like when a smoke detector goes off and you're just running around the house like trying to find it and turn it off. You're just like, oh god. So I hope you and your wife aren't epileptic, because if not, you'll find out one day.
Oh no, definitely not. I mean, I set my colored lights in my little theater space where I play Xbox to match with the games, and we play a lot of Call of Duty, Mike, and there's a lot of gunfire, flashing, flash bangs, all sorts of very bright and sudden colors in that. So I think I'm good.
Now, Chris, this is next level. I'm sure it's possible, but there might not be a really simple user way to do it. But if you haven't, I know you have an Apple Watch, so it just knows your current like heart rate, right? And I think some of them even can they can like scan even more than your heart rate. I don't know what the Apple Watches can do now, but basically they can have like real time effects on your health. It'd be cool if you could connect that to your lights, almost like a technologic mood ring. So it's like whenever you're just like feeling really mellow, all the lights in your house are like cool. Then when you get really pissed off and your heart starts racing, all the lights like turn red. That would just be hilarious.
I think it should go the other way, Mike. I honestly think that's going to compound. I'm mad. I'm seeing red now, literally. I think it's only just going to make it worse, and you're going to get like one of those things where like the madder I get, the redder it gets, the more red I see, the angrier I'm going to get. It's going to keep going down.
I could see it going either way, because at the same time when you're feeling sad, kind of down down and depressed, sometimes some like sad emo music just kind of helps you, just kind of like helps it wash right over you. So there could be a combo there. They could, all I'm trying to say is like I'm imagining a funny scenario where you and your wife are both wearing Apple Watches, and like I don't know if there's a long hallway in your place, but I'm just imagining there's this long hallway, and as your wife walks down the hallway, the lights start to turn red as she gets towards you. You're like, oh shit, lock the door. She's mad. I can.
At that point, I just need to be red lights to play in my house, Mike. I mean, I'm not.
No, at that point in time, you shut all the lights off so you can sneak away.
Yeah. No, I've got color lights. I don't like color lights and everything because those are expensive, but I've got some regular lights that I'm putting up. Part of the house projects, is putting new light fixtures, replacing the fixtures from the people who did have my house, because they're all brass and they're like that frosted glass. It doesn't look any good, and I hate it. But then also, again, like I said, last weekend I did drywall. This week I did more drywall, Mike. So I'm feeling really, really accomplished out of nowhere. So I celebrated by getting the mouse and keyboard, of course. That was my celebratory thing. And then also, I right before we jumped onto this, I literally started playing the PlayStation 4 Spider-Man game again. For the first time, I think, since the DLC came out, since I wrapped it up. So I'm playing it through my PlayStation on my computer here in my office. But I mean, I'm just jumping right back in, man. Those buttons come back natural. So if anyone's looking for stuff to do, that Spider-Man game is just... Chef's kiss.
It's such a beautiful game. We haven't talked about the rumors floating around the sequel, but you asked me a couple weeks ago, like, "Oh, Mike, do you want to see these rumors?" Because they were very specific and sort of spoilery. Usually, I stay away from that, but I'm just kind of like, "Oh, we're probably a few years away from this game. I'm going to forget all of this stuff anyway, and it probably won't even be in the game, even if it was true at the time." But there seems to be some pretty rad stuff coming to the sequel.
Well, thankfully, those are in our show notes today, so we'll talk about them today, because there's some more stuff about that. But I was having fun playing that because of all these rumors. I'm like, I want to go back into it. And I think it's on sale right now, the Game of the Year edition, which I think, if you hadn't bought it originally, Mike, this would have been the version you went for. That includes all the DLCs, only $20 right now. So
nice.
If you haven't jumped on that bandwagon and got Spider-Man, now is the time. But Mike, what have you been up to this week?
Well, like everybody else on the planet, we have been streaming in our household, and I just want to say, me and my wife have noticed a pattern recently with the shows that we've been watching, because we just started watching a new one, and we just binged it and finished it the other day, called You're the Worst, which is on Hulu now, because Hulu, Disney, FX, all that's synergizing, so you have all this new FX stuff influxed on Hulu. So we watched this show, You're the Worst, and I wanted to bring it up for two reasons. One reason is just a really good show. There was only 5 seasons. It seems to be created in a way where the creator knew where the ending map was, so it's kind of nice to watch a show where it kind of has like an organic ending, so that was nice. But also, one of the co-stars, I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but I know her character's name was Gretchen. I started looking her up on IMDb just to kind of see if she's been in anything else, or she's going to be in anything. She's going to be one of the supers in the next season of The Boys, so I thought that was pretty cool. So it was kind of nice watching the show, going like, oh, it's going to be sad when it's over, I'm not going to see these characters anymore, but hey, I know The Boys coming back this summer is going to have this actress in it. I don't know what role she's going to play beyond being in some sort of a superhero outfit, but I thought that was pretty cool, so I wanted to put that show, You're the Worst, on everybody's radar. But also, I've noticed that this show is in a very similar pattern for what my wife and I have been watching, and we've been kind of coining it as the self-loathing / narcissistic genre of television out there, which just by these titles of these next few shows, you'll tell what I'm talking about. So, like I just said, we're watching You're the Worst. The next one is called Difficult People, and then the other show is called I'm Sorry. Then there's one called Catastrophe. The second to last one's called Better Things, and then the last one on the list is called Alone Together. So all of these shows give off a very similar vibe of just really crappy people that are just fun to laugh at, or they just kind of hate their lives, and you just kind of watch them just hate everything around them. So
I feel like that with The Office. When I watch Michael Scott, I'm like, I'm a better person. So I understand that. Like, you're watching people who are worse than you.
Yeah, but I think the great thing about all of these shows, they're all streaming somewhere. You're the Worst and Difficult People are on Hulu. I'm Sorry and I think Alone Together are on Netflix, and then Catastrophe is Amazon Prime, and I think Better Things is also Hulu. So yeah, if you want a little self-loathing, if you just kind of want to go into like this pit of just awful people in despair, I mean the shows are actually surprisingly really good, which is the weirdest part, but a very niche genre that I've say we've come close to completing. So if anybody knows any other shows in that same vein, I'd love to add it to my collection.
Yeah, put it under Mike's belt for the self-loathing, I guess, I don't know, hate other people kind of thing. So yeah.
Real quick, no spoilers, because I can't believe I just found out that Chris was watching this show a couple days ago. Last week was the season finale of Lego Masters, which was a great show, a fantastic show. I'm glad to see that 2 of the 3 finalist teams were very, very solid.
I mean, so here's the fun part. This show's been on for at least 3 months now, and we found out literally in between the final episode, the next to final episode that we watched it, and we both agreed that one of the teams in the end should have been gone like the first 3 episodes. And
yeah, it was some reality show effery.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to say, I think we had different opinions on who should win, but mine won, so I feel pretty good about that.
Well, yeah, I was okay with the turnout for sure. But Will Arnett, who was the voice of Lego Batman, he is the host of the show. He has some okay jokes every once in a while, but he's so I don't really know what word I want to say, but he's kind of like a dumb dad at this point in time, where it's just like even if he shoots off a joke that's just really really stupid, you just roll your eyes and you just go, "Oh, you're crazy."
It's Will Arnett playing Will Arnett for the past 20 years. The same thing he was on Arrested Development. You know, it's who he is, and you know, I'm gonna have to lean the other. I don't care for the format of this show as much as probably most people for reality shows. I think it's interesting that, you know, they take the Great British Bake Off approach where everybody isn't angry or mad at each other. Like there's no anger. It's a very laid back show, right? They're like, hey, create something. However, watching this, like they show you some behind the scenes stuff occasionally. Like they open with like a cold open of them preparing to film the show. And I don't care for, like, I see how this is edited, and it bothers me a little bit. And I just don't care for it probably as much. The format of the edits and how they present. I don't think the judges should give feedback, because then the judges have an idea of what they want to see rather than the end product being presented, you know? That's my biggest complaint of this, but, like, you know, I'm on the fence for next season for myself.
Yeah, I'm looking for. I hope they do a second season. I don't know.
They
how
did. They said
okay.
They announced it like 3 episodes ago. So
great. I love it. I want to see another season. I want to see them really push the challenges. Like, one of my favorite challenges, because this was how I built Lego growing up, was I wanted to make sure the Legos I built were solid. I could play with them. They would survive any sort of like crashes or turns.
Are you
going to
talk about the bridge episode?
The bridge episode was my favorite, but also made me infuriated, because I thought it was great that they kind of just put the veil down and they were just like, hey, we legitimately ran out of weights. We didn't think you would build bridges this strong, and then they were getting like bags from the key,
the gaffers,
on set, which was great. But then they maxed out their weight, and like 2 people tied, and I was like, that drove me crazy, because everything in me wanted to know when those bridges were actually going to break. So I hope they bring that challenge back in some form or some way, and then they just got to know we need a fudge ton of weights. Yeah. Because that was my favorite part. And then your favorite team of the whole thing, they had one of the coolest looking bridges. I learned some cool Lego terms like studs out. I didn't know some of these things. So I was excited when everything was over, because that meant I could finally go on social media and start following these people. Because I'm always worried. I'm sure that they're under contracts, not to spoil it, but I'm always worried about people tagging them and then showing up in my algorithm, and then in my Explore feed I end up seeing like the winner before anyway. So Legos are great.
one of the teams is actually from Louisville, and I have I know someone who has his number. Like, I could get a hold of him if I wanted to.
Cool.
The muscles guy.
The muscles guy.
Yeah.
I looked on his Instagram and I was actually surprised. I was like, there's no Legos in this Instagram feed. It's just all of his muscles. Yeah. So I was like, well, I guess if you got them, go ahead and show them.
Yeah, and then one of the teams had never even worked together in person until this contest, which was kind of disappointing. One of many things. But I think it was fun. I think there is a lot for creativity in this, but I think you're right. I want more technical challenges, right? Like tall things, wide things, like weights, movement pieces. I saw some people, someone made an eagle and like the tips of the wings moved a little bit extra than the actual wing, and I'm like, that's cool. I wish I had moving Legos when I was younger to do this with, because motors and someone had like a hydraulic thing at some point too. They really dove into different types of Legos, because I think they're not Connects, but there's the other pieces that are like Connects they used for the bridges. And I'm like, these are fun. I would never want to have all these. This Legos is too much for me, but this is really cool. So
yeah, Lego's great. So I think we'll talk a little bit more about season 2 when that rolls around.
Yeah, because it shows the day. Mike was like, you watch? I'm like, yeah, it comes on right off The Masked Singer, which I watch every week. So that was funny. However, we're going to get into the news. We actually have news points this week. We didn't have to dig as hard. But I was able to pull a lot of news out of this. And, Mike, I will tell you the first thing that everyone... we were even tagged on Twitter for this. San Diego Comic-Con is officially canceled for 2020.
For the first time in 50 years. Last year was the 50th anniversary.
It was.
Chris, you were very lucky to be able to experience it before it was canceled. A lot of really smart people out there are saying that the reason that kind of they waited so long was that they have kind of event insurance, and they had to wait until there was some sort of kind of government order that kind of came down that said they just literally can't have the event, and then that's when their event insurance kicks in, so they can kind of pay off all of these things that they've already paid for ahead of time. So there's a chance that they knew this wasn't going to happen for a while. But my conspiracy theory is somebody got wind that you weren't coming this year, so they figured, what's the point? Yeah. Let's cancel it if Chris isn't coming into town. Well, so
we've already peaked. I mean, that last year, 50 years in a row is pretty good. We don't need 51. We don't want to brag, but we peaked with Chris.
Yeah, they're like, if this kid doesn't fly in from the middle of the country and bake on a asphalt concrete parking lot for a couple hours outside waiting to see some Marvel stuff, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. And thank you, but it was a basketball court. That was even worse, because that's just what it is. So I mean, I think they have mentioned that they're going to do like a digital experience, and I know they just announced they don't have what that looks like. But for me, Mike, and I'm going to tell you this, it's sad that this has been canceled this year. However, I've always experienced San Diego Comic-Con as a digital experience. Mm-hmm. So will this actually, for me, a not usually non-goer, be any different? Will all these studios have their own panels and release them then, or will they set their own dates for their own things? Like Marvel, we don't have to set down for July. Let's maybe do it in June or August instead. Like, can they do their own stuff?
I could see San Diego Comic-Con digital experiences helping some of the smaller creators, like comic book creators or Artist Alley people, but I don't think these big studios need the help of San Diego Comic-Con. I think it's going to be very similar to E3, where like these indie games would have loved the experience, but like these big studios have the money, and also they have the technical ability to stream and present whatever they want to do. Like what San Diego Comic-Con really offers these big companies is just the sheer amount of people and the synergy of everything happening over that weekend, and the in-person stuff and everybody tweeting and sharing on Instagram and social media. All of that stuff is going to be gone. So I think, there's a chance that, DC and Marvel could announce stuff, but I don't imagine the SDCC logo is going to be on any of that stuff. The first thing I thought of, like, I wonder where all of those exclusive San Diego Comic-Con Funko Pops are going to go. Because I got to imagine they're already manufactured and boxed and ready to show up.
But there's only like one model that's usually floor only. The rest are shared exclusives. Emerald City Comic Con was the first Comic Con to kind of go through this. I actually have some. I bought them off the Funko website, and I actually got pops that you would pick up on the floor there through their website. So I think that'll be fine. My thing is, if they go, what I would love to see, Mike, and a lot of people are probably gonna. Some people will agree, some people will disagree. A digital ticket. I would gladly buy a digital ticket and get access to all of these panels that I can watch live that I would normally have to be there in person to see. Now, will they do real panels of people? And because I think by July they'll be able to do small groups of people like that, just not thousands and thousands. So like, hey, we have a panel here. We've got a camera set up in the studio. We're going to talk to everybody. You get a digital ticket and you get to watch it. We're not going to limit that digital ticket to people who be on the floor, but anyone can come buy this ticket and watch these panels. I would love to see this and get to see that footage or what they would normally hold for the Comic-Con to get to see it through my computer.
Yeah, I think the two scenarios that would happen there is I would love to see some of the smaller panels that would have happened too as well. Like,
right, exactly.
There's always cool panels about like how to draw or how to get the most out of your comic book pages, just like really niche stuff about that. Here's a new Photoshop tool that you didn't know existed. I've gone to panels like that. Here are some indie web comic people, or there's an awesome panel that I love every year that I talk about called Quick Draw, where they bring all of these veteran cartoonists and they try to draw stuff, and it's all really funny.
What was the one where they did the yes/no voting one, where they weren't really celebrities, but they pitched ideas.
Yeah, it was like a sci-fi panel.
Yeah, I'd love to see that like that.
Yeah, that stuff's great, but like I don't think we would ever get any of the real juicy stuff. Like imagine if that Marvel panel didn't happen last year and it was supposed to happen this year. Even if they had a digital ticket, like they would just have to assume that anything that they aired digitally was going to make it out there on the internet because people can just screen record.
But that's the thing. I'm not talking about the big stuff. Like, I get that. They can do their own panels. They have D23. They can have their own press conference or investor call and announce the whole change of the movie slate for Marvel, right? So I'm talking about like if I had a chance to, when you're there in person, you can only go to one panel at a time. You can't be in multiple panels. So if you had a ticket and you could go back and rewatch some of those things you missed, or get to watch, I'd pull up a couple windows and watch a couple things, mute them. But like, wouldn't that be cool to like do what was that show, the Tarkovsky's Primal. Like I'd love to watch Primal, that panel, or the Rick and Morty panel through my computer. Like I don't need to see all the big stuff, but like I'd love to come watch those people just talk about their projects.
Or this is another thing. This would be just pure marketing, just like what San Diego Comic-Con is in general. But let's say, since this is hopefully in our lifetime a unique one-time occurrence, and we're not going to have to deal with this again for a really, really long time of people being boarded up in their houses. Imagine if Marvel or DC decided, okay, we are going to do a digital online experience, but there's not going to be any tickets, or who cares? Maybe there are tickets, whatever. It's just going to be a free live stream. The San Diego Comic-Con logo is going to be on it because it's a long-standing tradition to support this comic book convention. And then one time only, they're finally going to publicly release all of this cool stuff that usually you don't get to see. So, and I mean, nothing's happening this summer right now anyway. No one's going to the movies, so maybe people do need to start enticing people a little bit more. Go ahead and show us some behind-the-scenes Eternal stuff. Maybe give us like a sneak peek at Black Widow or something like that. Just give us more and just kind of frame it as like a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that everybody gets to see. And then, when things go back to normal, just kind of revert back to the old way to where you have to stand in line for like a day and a half to see this stuff. Since it's a unique scenario, they don't necessarily have to change the game. It'll just be like this one time.
Yeah, well, exactly. And, that's the thing, like you mentioned, all this stuff has been moving around. We don't have to, we're not worried about, if there are leaks, the schedule's pushed back, we can look at everything we just looked at last year again, that maybe hasn't been shown yet. So I think that might be fun. Show some of the Eternal stuff, and
I have to say it's a big bummer for San Diego because like you were there last year. You saw how many people descend onto that city, how much money pours into their economy, especially the hotels. I mean, the hotel lottery selection was supposed to happen this month. That's not going to happen. So yeah, it's just going to be a big downturn. So hopefully everybody will be really excited to have everyone welcome back. I feel exceptionally bad for the people that have been trying to get badges for years and years and years. Finally got one, and now the convention's canceled. So what I'm really hoping is they get some sort of first dibs. Like if you had a badge for 2020, you get a badge for 2021. Like we've already done the badge selection, but have some sort of really solid cutoff time that if you don't confirm that you still want your badge, it's going to go into a pool, and then we're going to give them away.
Yeah, I think just kind of freeze everything for next year if it's confirmed, kind of deal. Like, don't, like, I know, like, professionals, artists, they have to do bi-yearly confirmations, right? Something like that. Every 2 years you have to reconfirm yourself. Like, just freeze it for a year. But, like, yeah, everyone kind of sucked this year, so we'll just hold it and push everything back a year. So, San Diego Comic-Con, going to be a different experience. We'll keep you guys updated as we do play-by-plays on how this is going to turn out. And what else is going to happen this year?
The only upside here is I'm saving a little bit of money because usually drop a little bit of change in that city on that weekend.
For goers, it's different. For me, I'm like, I'm just going to have to get online and get my news again anyway. So we'll see how this plays out. A lot of people, again, a lot of fans of our show, look forward to our San Diego Comic-Con recap episode. So we're going to do the best we can to try to come up with something this year for you guys.
If you were somebody that was going to be tabling at San Diego Comic-Con and you listened to our podcast, let us know, because San Diego can be an opportunity for people to kind of really market and put their business out there and make some bucks that they really rely on during the year. So if you're somebody that was going to be tabling during San Diego Comic-Con, let us know and we'll give you a shout out on the show.
Yeah. Or if you're a listener and you know someone who's going to be there, tag them. Let us get them in touch with us. We'll do what we can. We're going to shift gears into some other properties here. James Gunn, always during quarantine, he's on the social medias again. He's active. He's teasing an R rating for his Suicide Squad movie, which I hope so, right? I mean,
that'd be fine. I'd be okay with that.
Didn't the first one get an R rating?
I don't know. Did it? I can never remember now which DC movies are R-rated and which ones aren't, because honestly, most of the time is they're not leaning into the R rating enough, and there's no point in remembering. It's easy to remember Deadpool being rated R because there's dismemberments, there's lots of swear words, a lot of inappropriate sexual humor. So it's easy to remember that those movies are rated R. But Birds of Prey, that was rated R, wasn't it? I'm trying to remember, even though it just came out earlier this year. I mean, besides one person's leg being broken twice, I can't even really remember any memorable swear words, to be honest.
Well, they did blow up somebody in full at some point in there. I'm trying to see. It doesn't. Why does Wikipedia not have the ratings? But I mean, it's hard to think. This movie was 4 years ago at this point. It feels like it was 10 years at this point.
And as the veil starts to fall on the show, now you can hear PG-13. Chris's frantic research mid-show with his new.
It was PG-13, and after I don't know. It was Birds of Prey considered a success. I don't know. It kind of fell in the middle of all this quarantine stuff and was put on digital early.
You'll never know. There'll always be an asterisk next to it. If somebody says it didn't perform well, the studio will just point to the coronavirus. So it doesn't really matter how you look at it. But like I say every week, make sure you're following James Gunn on Instagram, because last night he did another Q&A, and he does a lot of questions. When you find somebody's Instagram story that's really too self-involved, and all of the little lines on the UI end up looking like dots and they're not even divided in lines anymore. James Gunn did that with his AMA, which was great because he answered a lot of questions. I didn't get a chance to look at them, but I'm guessing somebody brought up the rating.
Yeah, well, because of Birds of Prey being the last superhero movie from DC, and the next until Wonder Woman, hey, can you do R rating? Because Suicide Squad would fit in an R rating because Harley Quinn came from that. So probably, if it's considered acceptable. James Gunn has done R rated movies, Slither, some other stuff beforehand. I think he can pull it off. He's also teasing the first footage possibly this year. If DC was going to come to San Diego Comic-Con, I guarantee you Batman and Suicide Squad footage was going to be there. So if they're not going to be there, maybe they'll do their own little tease thing. So.
And Gunn was probably looking for a triumphant return to Comic-Con, because I don't remember the exact time frame. It was either last Comic-Con or the Comic-Con before then. He ended up canceling his appearance because he got into that whole Guardians snafu with Marvel and his old tweets.
I want to say it was 2 ago even, because last year was me and they were filming Suicide Squad. Before that, he would have been writing it. So I think it was 2 years. So.
So he was probably looking for a triumphant return. So that looks like that was swept out from under him.
Well, if not, he'll come back the next year for Guardians 3 at Marvel. So we got some time here. He's got a lot of stuff in the Comic-Con world he could come back with. So looking forward to that. Something I'm not looking forward to is the Zack Snyder cut ever being released. And right now, the reports are that there are no plans to release the Snyder Cut on HBO Max, despite us theoretically saying, if they want to bring people in HBO Max, release a Snyder Cut. They're not going to do it. So
I mean, I like the theory that you had where, throw some money at it, have them finally finish some of those previs special effects and you finally get your Snyder Cut up and running. I only would have wanted this to happen just to kind of see it as an experiment, just to kind of have this statistical data of what's it look like when you throw more money at a movie and you do some old special effects, bring them back up to snuff. It just would have been interesting to see like the side-by-side comparisons to see what changed, because usually this doesn't happen. I think probably the closest we see is there's a few different versions of the movie Psycho, and I think one of them is actually using this exact same script. I think that one of the more recent versions of that movie, they use the exact same script, so you can kind of see how two different big Hollywood movies with an actual Hollywood budget would turn out if you're using the exact same material, and that would kind of be along the same lines of like two different directors' interpretations of one movie at the same time.
I would say that that's more akin to Superman 2. There's the Richard Donner cut, which was who essentially worked on the movie the whole time, but then there was the theatrical version, which was when they fired him and didn't let him have the final cut. So I think it's more along the lines of DC always having these issues with their movies, doing these different cuts. So
yeah, I would say split it down the middle though, because usually when there's director cuts and theatrical cuts, usually it's just like, well, you could have seen that stuff, but it was just on the deleted scenes on the DVD or whatever. In this case, it would have been like the collector's edition DVD whenever that came out. But yeah, no Snyder Cut, boo-hoo, cry, don't care.
Yeah, I mean, you're losing sleep over this, Mike. Don't lie to me. I understand. However, there looks to be hope for some other sort of Justice League. Justice League Dark is looking to make an appearance on HBO Max from J.J. Abrams, and then this has been specified as a live-action series, not necessarily a movie. So do you think, Justice League Dark, which, involves like Constantine and Zatanna and Etrigan the Demon, would those people work on a live action TV series more than a movie? Akin to a higher quality Doom Patrol? Or
yeah,
what do you think?
I mean, I hope that this is a shot across the bow to attempt to compete with Disney Plus shows. I know we haven't seen them yet, but everybody involved has said these are going to be cinematic movie quality, just kind of shrunken down to your home screen. So I'm hoping that that's what they're thinking of in the vein for this. I mean, as much fun as I've had dabbling in the Arrowverse and the Berlanti-verse, watching some kind of campy Flash seasons and, kind of enjoying some of the proto Arrow episodes back in the day, like I think I've kind of worn out of that world. It doesn't seem like they're kind of pushing or advancing anymore. And for all intents and purposes, like it's cheap, but it's cheap because it has to be. So I want to see something more premium, kind of what we're seeing like a la Mandalorian. Like give me 8 episodes of Justice League Dark and give me like some awesome CG creatures. If people really liked Swamp Thing from the Swamp Thing show, bring him into here. Show me some cool like dark sides of the DC world,
and make it tie into the DC world, or not. I don't care which one. I mean, like if it tied in, I think that'd be even better, because they've tried to make this a movie several times with several people, and hey, this is our first TV show that ties into the movies, so here, have some fun with it a little bit. Do that.
It really makes you wonder what the strategy is, though, because the other DC property that they've announced exclusively for HBO Max is Green Lantern, which is supposed to be helmed by Berlanti. So we're imagining, that's probably going to be in the realm of like Titans, shorter episode order, probably a little bit more polished than what you'd see on the CW. But is it going to be weird, people on HBO Max watching Justice League Dark and then also streaming Green Lantern, and then they're just kind of two totally different production companies, totally different looks, probably not going to cross over with each other? Yeah. It seems like, HBO Max is just doing what it can in this world. We're launching a brand new streaming service. Let's just make a bunch of content that people will like. Who cares if it doesn't cross over, because we're only worried about subscribers.
But I don't think DC, to say it nicely, gives two shits about crossovers or continuity. I mean, one of the most money-making, Oscar-winning movies is Joker. It has nothing to do with any other DC movies at all. I mean, they even kicked out Jared Leto and got a new guy in a whole movie in a whole different universe. I don't think DC cares about continuity as much as Marvel does, but Marvel has set that bar, and DC can't do that as quickly. So, I mean, will the average person know? Probably not. Will we know? Yeah, probably. But I think
we absolutely will.
Yeah, I think Green Lantern. We're used to the Berlanti productions in terms of the thing, but Titans and is he part of Doom Patrol as well?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Those are higher quality shows. I'll tell you that right. You're not watching CW shows when you watch those. So I think he could pull off a Green Lantern, especially with HBO Max saying, "Hey, here's some money. You've been wanting to do a Green Lantern with Diggle for years. Come on, just make a Green Lantern show finally." So I think that's interesting. I think Justice League Dark. I mean, J.J. Abrams, was hired to work on some stuff for I think HBO, right? And he's always been rumored to do a Superman movie. So maybe this is his chance to dive into some DC stuff without getting Superman. And maybe if we ever get a Superman 2 or we get a rebooted Superman, Abrams could be behind it, and we'll see an homage to Superman 1 because he doesn't have a creative bone in his body.
I guess I'll put it this way. We're coming up close to, I would say, the 10-year anniversary of the Arrowverse. Because I think Arrow started airing not long after I moved out here to LA, and we've been out here roughly for 10 years. So I'm looking forward to the next evolution of kind of what this Berlanti/Arrowverse is going to be. Is it going to be shorter episode orders with more money on a streaming platform? Because I know Greg Berlanti as a person can direct because I saw his movie Love, Simon. Like I don't doubt his abilities, but when you're stuck in the broadcast TV realm, you're just doing the best with what you have. So I would love to see what he can do with no restrictions.
Yeah, I think the Berlanti Arrowverse will end within the next 3 years. I don't think there's any legs behind anything anymore. And much like we'll talk about S.H.I.E.L.D. here in a minute, good things have to come to an end. And Arrow ended. The Flash is, for lack of a better pun, is on his last legs, if you will. Who's watching Supergirl? And Legends of Tomorrow's always struggled, and they just got rid of Brandon Ruth on that one.
I've heard some insider information that Ruby Rose, the actress who plays Batwoman, is horrible to work with on set. She just it does not show up when she's supposed to. People are always getting injured on that set, so I gotta imagine there's some liability issues on that show too.
The next one that supposedly ties into this on the CW but is also primarily on DC Universe is Stargirl. And that looks to have a little higher production quality because they got Luke Wilson piloting a huge robot at some point. So I think the TV CW will end in the next 3 years, and then we will start seeing just more Berlanti shows, maybe not tied together. Because didn't Crisis separate all these shows into different worlds at some point?
No, actually, Crisis did the opposite. They put all of them finally in one world, so now they're inhabiting one planet.
But Titans and Doom Patrol do not, though. Still,
yeah, that was the weird thing. That was another thing I didn't really like about Crisis. Is just they wanted to go out of their way to kind of show you these other cameos like Titans, but then technically all those worlds are supposed to have been destroyed. So I don't know. Don't ask me.
I mean, good things are gonna come to an end, Mike, and it's sad to see it go, but end before you're hated. Go out. What is it that I always say? People from The Dark Knight, you either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And I think we're getting there. But anyway, J.J. Abrams. I think in 2023, knock on wood, we might get a new Superman movie. 10 years after Man of Steel, we might get Man of Steel 2.
Maybe.
So,
I mean, after kind of what we've seen with the Star Wars universe, and I know I feel like I've come around to your opinion on J.J. Abrams now. I'm a little iffy on this man now. So I don't automatically give the supreme seal to every time I see his name on stuff now.
His problem is not. He can do really good first introductions of himself to that universe. Think Star Trek, the first people love The Force Awakens. Stuff like that. It's his sequels that people hate. Star Trek Into Darkness, his second Star Wars movie. So if it's his first Superman movie and then he's done, I think it'll be great. If he tries to go beyond that, we're all doomed.
Yeah. So. Also, I think this might be splitting hairs at this point, and it's always hard to tell since it is his company. But I believe the news also might have leaned more heavily on Bad Robot. Production Studios was helming this HBO Max show. So obviously, when you're going for the headline, when you're going for the story, you throw JJ's name in there. So there's a good chance that he'll be consulting on the pilot script, probably walking into the writer's room maybe like once or twice. But I don't think it will end up being J.J. Abrams' show.
Right. Well, and that's I'm gonna point that in the same direction. You know, something that's not on this list is Extractions next weekend, and that's not the Russo brothers project. It's just from the Russo brothers.
But it's their stunt guys project. Chris, I'm telling you, I'm trying to build the hype train because there's not enough hype out there for really movies anymore because no movies are premiering. So I'm hoping Netflix really nails it this time. I hope this is their John Wick. This is their movie directed by a stunt director. It's got a huge A-list star in it. I would say triple A star, Chris Hemsworth in it. You got the Russos attached producerily for street cred out there. So I'm just really hoping.
Did you watch Deadly Class?
No, I didn't watch.
Then obviously Russo Brothers production does not help anything at all. So,
well, who had sci-fi anyway? You have to have like a specific cable package to even have sci-fi. Everybody has Netflix, Chris. Well, except for you, but everybody has Netflix.
Well, and the last movie I watched on Netflix, I believe that I can remember that was a Netflix original was in fact Cloverfield Paradox.
Well, that's your fault.
That went over well.
Your fault. That's your fault.
I've heard really good things about Bright as well, let me tell you. So hopefully Netflix can do a good movie for once. They need a good original
this
movie.
Time next week, I'll eat my words if the movie's not good.
I'm excited for this. I'm excited to see how this turns out. So, movies, you were talking right before the show about Seth Rogen movies you've been watching lately, and a Seth Rogen movie. He did a superhero movie where he starred in it. I don't know how this movie ever happened or why it happened. Was Green Hornet, a classic old villain or old hero, kind of terms like a serial kind of like what am I thinking, Dick Tracy style kind of thing. And Universal is moving forward with a Green Hornet and Kato reboot now. They don't want to do a sequel to that. Surprise. I mean, is this smart? Is this something people want? I didn't care for the first one. I watched it in theaters.
I don't know. I mean, we were talking also earlier on the show. Universal owned by NBC, which would be Comcast, which would be Peacock. So, is this going to be a Peacock streaming series, a Peacock film? Is this going to be a straight up normal movie out there in the world? I feel like you got to do something with the Green Hornet. And it's got to be good because how much cachet does the Green Hornet even have out there? I mean, I don't know personally other people, but I mean, we're in our 30s. So if they're going for a nostalgia market, it's not with us. It's not like I grew up with like a Green Hornet cartoon show that riffed off the old... like my parents might be familiar with the Green Hornet, but my parents don't go to movies anymore. Well, like they barely get out there anyway, especially now during a pandemic. So I got to imagine like you gotta attach some talent, you gotta attach some known faces to kind of really capitalize off this.
But you gotta modernize it. I think Green Hornet and Kato maybe worked in the 50s, 60s, a little bit. Like someone put on a mask and they're the hero. Like they're not a superhero, they're just a mask guy running around with his driver Kato who knows karate. Like, what do you do with this?
I would think maybe I like a lot of people. I didn't see the Seth Rogen Green Hornet one, but I would imagine if they didn't do this in the story already, this would have to happen where you kind of like flip the roles. I mean, no one wants to see like an immigrant as like a servant that's going around like doing all the work. I would imagine you cleverly flip the roles where like a Kato is like the one in charge and the Green Hornet is like the bumbling idiot.
That's how it was. I mean, Seth Rogen was Green Hornet. He was a bumbling idiot in that movie. So they already flipped it. It didn't really work out very well because they kept it like old school. Like, when I think of Green Hornet, I think of movies like Sin City or The Spirit, right? Did you watch The Spirit?
I haven't seen the Spirit, but I do love Sin City.
Right. So Frank Miller, both of them, black and white, very artistic. I mean, The Spirit had Samuel L. Jackson and Scarlett Johansson as the villains. Like, you're like, oh, great, these are great actors. Like, I love them in Marvel. Don't watch it. You're just going to be disappointed all around. But I mean, Universal, do they make Fast and the Furious movies?
I believe so. Yeah.
This would be a great like Green Hornet Kato or like in that kind of Fast and Furious universe would be.
Chris, don't bring up crossovers because as you know, me and my wife have been watching 21 and 22 Jump Street, and after watching those films, directed by the amazing Chris Lord and Phil Miller, I mean, we love those guys. It's just so sad to see that Men in Black crossover is probably never going to happen because that would have been so good, would have been so perfect. I would have loved to see them go like be thrust into like an alien universe. But yeah, if that could happen, or if that could possibly have been rumored on the table at one point in time, maybe we could get the Green Hornet and Kato in a Fast movie.
Yeah, I just think he's known for his car, right? So give him a Fast and Furious car. Like they're going around racing into things. Maybe they both have their own cars, and it's like I don't know. I don't know anything about Green Hornet. I don't want it, but if they're gonna do it, might as well have some fun with it. Make it outlandish, Mike. Very outlandish. However, speaking of outlandish things here, Spider-Man 2, a classic. Me and Mike both agree, out of all the Spider-Man movies, you can keep 3, this one's on our list. Guaranteed.
Yes, that's true.
When they were filming it, as you know, Willem Dafoe returns to play the ghost of Norman Osborn. They had him come in and step in as Otto Octavius in the scene for fun. There's filming behind the scenes and let Alfred Molina watch. And Willem Dafoe as Dr. Octavius would have still been awesome. I think he could have played any of these roles in these movies and just knocked it out of the park.
Willem Dafoe is just a treasure. This made me really want to go watch The Lighthouse. I know you've seen it, but I haven't seen it yet. But yeah, just seeing this man perform is just great. He's just like a master of his craft. But also the other really cool thing about this video is just seeing those practical tentacles just wriggling around the back of him. That would have been, that 100% would just be a CG effect now. And I would almost say rightfully so. I would say it's probably not too difficult to pull off tentacles in CG and save a lot of money. But man, now that we're going to be talking about Raimi here in a little bit, maybe we'll be seeing some more practical effects come back to the screen.
Well, I wouldn't say necessarily practical. I mean, we're going to add into one of these his notes here, but I think people, if you get a chance in our notes, the link to this tweet of him playing Dr. Octavius at the moment that the his like little sphere's about to explode is really, really fun. So get a chance to watch it. But Sam Raimi has confirmed himself as directing Doctor Strange into the Multiverse of Madness, which is what we really wanted when we heard this rumor months ago.
Yeah, this is great. This harkens back to a few months ago on the show when we started talking about who should direct Doctor Strange now that we've lost Scott Derrickson. And we both agreed that it's gotta be somebody with like a vision, somebody with like a solid tone, not just like a random, just like, oh, this person directed a couple horror movies and we're just gonna bring him in on the cheap to take over Doctor Strange. If you really want to appease the audience, bring in somebody with a solid vision. I mean, no one has more of a solid vision than like Sam Raimi.
Exactly, and he does family. I wouldn't say family friendly horror, but like, it's stuff that's unsettling that, you can show to the masses and people are like, yeah, this is pretty cool.
I think he just has I think he just knows how to mess with people. He just kind of has like a kind of a twisted sense of humor, and it seems like going back to the behind the scenes video we just talked about, you see Sam Raimi in that video for a little bit, just like chatting with some of the people on set. It seems like people get along with the guy very well. Yeah. And for better or for worse, it seems like when your production is in trouble, you're not just looking for somebody that's talented, you're looking for somebody that can manage a set, which didn't go exactly how they wanted it for Solo when they brought in Ron Howard.
But they still made a movie out of it.
He was a man that could manage the set and the people. He was a professional. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to see what Sam Raimi does kind of back in this universe again. And I would say almost Doctor Strange is more fitting for Raimi than even Spider-Man was.
And even in Spider-Man 1 or maybe 2, they even name dropped Doctor Strange in there. I think it was 2 when they were talking about giving names to Dr. Octavius as Dr. Octopus. He's like, Dr. Strange? He's like, nah, 2 on the nose. Or already taken, that's what it was. So this is a fun throwback for him. But they've also added, he's bringing with him production designer Robert Stromberg, who worked on the Avatar movie, James Cameron's. He also worked with Raimi on Oz the Great and Powerful. And if you go to his IMDb page, 90-something projects of background stuff. Lots of great movies. Very, very... worked on matte paintings in the 90s and then moved over to visual effects later in the 2000s. I think if you're looking, and they've got all this 6 extra months now of this movie being pushed back, or several months. I think it was like 4, maybe not. No, it went from May to November. 6 months. of just pre-planning and making these designs and blowing our minds, because the first Doctor Strange is a visual treat, right? Who could forget the scene where he gets pushed into the astral plane and the hands and all that creepy stuff, right? And then we got a really, really awesome upgraded Doctor Strange in Infinity War, and we can't go backwards with Doctor Strange. We can't take away these powers and these cool effects.
He's finally the Sorcerer Supreme now, so now it's time to get extra weird with magic and dimensions and
make it comfortable. Like, I don't want to seem like, oh, this is my first time seeing something weird. I want to be like, yeah, this is normal for me. This is another day.
I just hope that we get less Ron Howard and more like George Miller coming back to the Mad Max franchise with Fury Road. I want to see like Raimi at the top of his game, because there's always that thing that I always worry about with really seasoned directors, and I will go ahead and state for the record that I could never do what these people do in a million years, because they are auteurs and they just know what the hell that they're doing. But when you get so seasoned and so iconic in the industry, you get to the point where people don't want to critique you, they don't want to tell you what to do, they don't want to get in your way, and sometimes you need that to happen when you're in a creative field. So I hope Sam Raimi still kind of has his wits about him, and he'll let other people come in and play as well.
Well, here's the thing. I think the Ron Howard thing is very unfair, because this movie hasn't even started production. They're still writing the script for this, so I think this is still, Scott Derrickson just isn't doing the sequel, and he may have been hired for like a month or two, but like this is going to be Sam Raimi's vision as he goes through it. But also, Disney doesn't owe anything to Sam Raimi. Marvel doesn't owe anything to them, so I think their reputation on the line was like you're going to do it this way. If they don't like it, they're going to tell him, and I don't think they're afraid to let him go if they need to as well. So,
that is one of the bonuses of hiring like a director who has a long storied career in Hollywood. Like, maybe like just a young hotshot producer that wants to make sure that this YouTube star is in his movie is just going to be like, no, are you crazy? Do you want the headlines of a third director on this movie? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, I mean that's The Flash has gone through 20 directors at this point. But also the other thing is that I was thinking the last time we had a hot director come into a new Marvel property movie was Fantastic Four from 2016, and that turned out really well, I think, for everybody involved, right? No, I don't think. I think maybe the actors are the only people who got out of there alive. The director, Trank, I think he's made one movie since then. So, rough. Captain Marvel is rumored to kick off the next Avengers phase for the MCU with her movie in 2020. 2022? No, 2022. Yeah, she's after Black Panther 2 in July. So, I think her taking the lead role, having a phase where there's not really a huge Avengers level threat is going to be safe. Kind of move some pieces around, set up X-Men, Fantastic Four, get our characters in place. By the time we get to 2023, where the MCU is set, we'll probably be caught up by then. So I think that's a fun thing. I think Captain Marvel's a great person to have in charge of that. They just released her new Hot Toys with the big Infinity Gauntlet glove we talked about earlier this week.
That was sick. I mean, I'm not one for collecting a lot of Hot Toys, because I think it's going to be like heroin. As soon as I get one, I'm going to want all of them, and I'm going to be out of money, and I'm going to be stealing computers from like local offices to fund my habit. But she's carrying around like an accurate kind of proportionally sized gauntlet, and it's like huge because it's Thanos' hand, so it's huge. So
it was Hulk's hand, actually.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, because it takes for Hulk. Yeah, so I was just like, I just want that glove, because the glove, if I was holding it, would probably be at least like 4 inches tall, and that's like a very accurate glove, not like going online and like buying like a keychain of the gauntlet,
Yeah.
So I don't know if anybody out there wants to go like thirdsies on this, like you just really want the Captain Marvel toy, but you don't have all the money. I guess I can chip in some, and you can send me the glove.
Yeah, everyone wants a glove, Mike. It's not just you. Listener to the show, friend of the show, Jason Ambrositis, he collects a lot of these characters and figures, and I'm gonna have to get with him. He's gonna message me tomorrow when he's listening, because he listens every Monday morning, and tell me if he's gonna get this Captain Marvel or not and add it to his collection. Because there are a lot of Captain Marvels. There's the older Captain Marvel when she's actually dressed like the original Captain Marvel. There's the Miss Marvel version with the black spandex, which is the 90s era women in superhero comic books, and her new Captain Marvel outfit. And I really like this new one, so I'm down. Actually, you know what I'm going to do, Mike? I'm going to hit this mouse button 3 times, and I now have Captain Marvel colors across my whole setup here.
Oh my gosh! Wow, look at you, such an American boy with his patriotic colors.
Yeah, well, actually, hers is Captain America. She's got yellow instead of white, but but it's pretty cool. I enjoy it. I'm gonna type. Oh, yep, it powers up. It's fun. Speaking of, we talked about X-Men. Fantastic Four is down the road, Mike. We're gonna get them. I'm hoping for an announcement this summer, maybe this year. If not, I think the latest will be D23 next year. But this week on his new web show, what's it called?
It's like what is it? Some good news? Good news or something like that.
I think it's some good news. Yeah. John Krasinski mentioned that he's talked to Marvel about playing a superhero. Wink, wink at the camera.
Whoa, he's not even hiding it.
yeah, and then he's immediately twinning on Twitter that like the next hour. And this was huge earlier in this week, but people would die to see him play Reed Richards and his wife Emily Blunt play Sue Richards in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They even draw the character to look like him in the comic books now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I don't know. I mean, I guess it just depends. I don't know a whole lot about Sue Richards as a character currently in the comic books. You know, like most female characters, unfortunately, early in the Marvel universe, you know, they're kind of like, they're kind of very one note. So I can only assume the character has evolved to be much more. So somebody else would have to tell me if Emily Blunt could fit what Sue Richards is.
I'll tell you right now. Yes, she can.
That's great. That's good to know.
Sue Richards. Susan Richards is a very much she's not a damsel in distress. She's not like the original Jean Grey in the comic books, timid and shy. Like she's very like, you know, even if they have kids in this version, which would be fine with me, Valeria and Franklin, I think, you know, as a mother, you know, she's very, very strong and protective of her family and like doesn't pull punches, which is the Sue Richard I would love to see. Nothing against Jessica Alba in 2 movies that are kind of, or I can't even think the actress in the 2016 one. But I mean, I want a very, very like, hey, this a strong woman who knows what her abilities are would be awesome.
I mean, and also this type of casting wouldn't necessarily be out of the realm. I mean, I would say for a couple of years before we had Doctor Strange cast as why can't I think of his name? Yeah, Benedict Cumberbatch. There was tons of fan art out there because everyone's like, this would be perfect. Benedict Cumberbatch would be Doctor Strange. Here, I photoshopped a goatee on him. It already looked like he's ripped right out of the comic book pages, and then they did it, and it turned out pretty well.
Yep.
So I don't know. The only thing that kind of gets me unexcited about this is just like, well, I've already seen the concept art basically, and usually that's kind of the stuff I look forward to seeing. I want to see like the reveal and everything like that. Like I was really surprised when I saw oh man, why can't I think of his name? Who was cast as Blade? Because I wasn't expecting.
Mahershala Ali.
Yeah, Mahershala Ali. Because I wasn't expecting that, but I'm sure somebody out there probably photoshopped him as Blade beforehand. I'm sure Boss Logic has photoshopped every celebrity as every superhero at some point in time. He probably has a list that he works through, so he can just publish those as soon as possible.
He's got a Photoshop plugin now. He just does it for him.
But as I say, every time a new Fantastic Four movie news pops up, I want to see evil Reed Richards. I think he's going to be the best addition to the MCU moving forward, because the best villain is one that you know and have feelings and emotions about.
The problem with the Ultimate Reed Richards, and then again, the Ultimate Universe is my jam. I love him. I mean, this was written by one of my favorite writers, you know, a long time ago, is that he's young. Like, he is like 16, 17, and like going against the government, doing what he thinks is right. An adult Reed Richards would kind of do what he thinks is right, but like for more, I guess, noble reasons. So you know what you do though. Here's what I'm gonna throw something at you. If you've got Doctor Strange in a multiverse of madness, you bring over this kid who's like, you don't know he's Reed Richards for a while, then you find out later he's an evil Reed Richards. Like, but it's just like a recurring character kid or something like that.
I was going to help you by segueing into the next topic. I think the way that you make an old Reed Richards evil is you just hire a good writer, and then you can just make it happen.
It's true. So the biggest rumor is, and please take this with a grain of salt, my friends, is that Joss Whedon has met with Kevin Feige and Marvel to possibly write or story the Fantastic Four movie for them.
I would imagine that if Joss Whedon came back into the fold of the MCU, he would want more control over what he gets to do in his movie.
And what we know, he had problems with the Age of Ultron. Again, I mean, he's even admitted like he put himself out there, did too much of himself. However, Age of Ultron is the old Marvel before Kevin Feige had ultimate control. They still had to go through the panel. They still had to go through the Marvel president. And, they were trying to, I think, sell more toys than make a good movie at that point in time.
Yeah,
So,
Joss would always talk about how he had to fight to get the farm scene in the movie. Yeah. And even though the farm scene I don't particularly enjoy myself, I do try to imagine a universe where maybe he didn't have to fight for it, and then things would have been easier to kind of focus around the farm, and he wouldn't have to set up all of this other stuff.
There's probably more scenes there that we just didn't get to see because they made him cut everything out but the essentials.
Yeah, but who knows? I'm sure people could write a book about Age of Ultron at this point in time.
Here's the thing, though. Is Joss Whedon any good anymore since 2012? I'm going to look towards Justice League as another example. Again, he was Ron Howarded into that situation, right? That's a good use of that.
And I think since then, I think some of his character has been called into question as well. He got caught up just kind of tangentially into the Me Too movement. I don't think anybody, I'll say this straight up, I don't think anybody brought up any accusations of him doing anything physical or anything like that to anyone, but I think some people kind of had called him out for maybe being misogynistic on some previous projects. So who knows? All you can say for sure is he's definitely been through a lot, whether he deserves it or not, since Age of Ultron. So maybe he would see this as an opportunity to come back and just kind of go back to the way he used to like to do things, maybe not on a super tight deadline and trying to build out this whole entire universe.
I think don't make him a director. I think he's a good writer. I think, if you can't get him to do X-Men, which would be great because he wrote the Astonishing X-Men, which people love, and they've not adapted yet, thankfully. Make him a writer, make him a story person. Like, hey, look, you're really good at tying. He was able to tie every first phase Marvel movie into the Avengers when they did not have a plan to do that. And it worked out, right? Everyone loves the first Avengers. So let them write Fantastic Four. Let them bring in every 23, 25, 30 movies they've gotten so far. Like, hey, can you make the Fantastic Four work in here for us? You're good at making things out of nowhere. So I think that would be a good place to put them. What do you think on that? Just writing, not directing. Just write it.
Yeah, no, that's great. There's a lot of people out there who I think should either stick to one way or the other. The kind of the flip side of the thing is Neil Blomkamp. I think he should just direct things and not write things. So how about we get Joss Whedon to write something for Neil Blomkamp to direct? I think that'd be great.
Yeah, if Blomkamp ever actually directs something, I introduced my wife and my in-laws to Die Antwoord this weekend, who will star in his movie Chappie. With the robot, and I was like, these are some messed up people. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of opportunities for Fantastic Four, but I'm not going to take anyone off the table unless it's Josh Trank. He's the only one I'll take off the table. Hell, they put Scott Derrickson in for Fantastic Four if he wanted to. I think if they wanted to. Anyway, moving on. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they have announced the final season. Season 7 will debut on May 27th, which is a Wednesday, on ABC.
Hey.
I thought it was going to go straight to streaming. I swear to God it was going to go straight to streaming.
I'm surprised it's not airing on a Friday night. I think this goes to show you that broadcast television needs content. They don't have this huge backed up library like Netflix does, where they can just keep putting stuff out every Friday because they've been making stuff the past couple years and they just have this huge backlog. So this is good for them. Sounds like they get to take advantage of this and go out on top. I think Wednesday used to be, was it Tuesday or Wednesday was their original time slot?
It was Tuesday.
Okay, so Wednesday's not too bad.
It's better than Friday.
Good for them.
Better than Friday.
Good for them. I don't want to say, it's like bittersweet, Yeah. It's like I don't really watch the show anymore, but I would have to say I'm just impressed that it's stuck around for this long,
Yeah, and that they've done so much with the stories, between time travel, space travel, introducing Inhumans. Like, they did not shy away from anything. Like, if they're like, we want to tell a story, like, we got robots. We got, Patton Oswalt being, the life model decoys. We can do all sorts of stuff in here. They did not shy away from comic book things that Marvel has done. So
they did like an entire virtual world that they had to escape from. Yeah, that was really cool. They were not afraid to swing for the fences. I'm sure they had a strategy where they would go to somebody at Disney/Marvel and just pitch something huge where like, we want Captain America and Iron Man to show up, knowing that they weren't going to get these things. So the compromise would be like, okay, you can get Nick Fury in your season finale of season 1. They're just like, okay, that's what we wanted anyway. Yeah. So I'm sure they have this whole strategy now.
Well, it was cool. I really like season 1. They had the late Bill Paxton in there. That reveal at the end was awesome. Like, they did not like. I mean, when they brought Coulson back, that was bold, and then they just kept pushing the bar. So that's cool. The season 7 comes out May 27th. I think it's going to be weekly, so we'll get to see 12 episodes I think, or 13. So we'll get a definitive end to this. I've not. I'm going to be honest. I haven't caught up the last season yet because I just didn't do it, and it's my fault. But apparently they're time traveled back in time to 1931 for this. So there's going to be a period piece, a retro period piece, not a future period piece, which is interesting, and will cross over with the Agent Carter show, specifically Agent Daniel Sousa coming back in.
Yeah, I thought that was cool, but I think what we all really want to see is Agent Carter proper comeback. Maybe she will, and it'll be a surprise, and they're just not putting it out there, but yeah, that'd be cool.
Well, what's interesting is Agent Carter ended in 45, 46, post the war, right? And this is well before the war, so I think we're going to get a non-limp-legged Agent Sousa.
Okay. Oh, and maybe this will be the origin of how he got limped.
Yeah, exactly. And then, if there is, I don't know if there's potential time jumping throughout the season, because I don't think it'll just end in 1931.
The only question I have is I saw like the promo screenshot of this where they're back in time, and it looked and I don't think he's Agent Coulson. I don't know what they call him, but basically the Coulson version that they have now. Last I saw him, he was evil from a different dimension, and now he's good again. So I don't know if Agent Coulson proper has been downloaded into that person's brain. I don't know.
Do you want to know what it is?
You know what? Just go ahead and tell me. And if people out there don't want to know, they can just skip ahead 10 seconds.
Yeah, jump ahead. He's a life model decoy filled with old Agent Coulson's memories.
Okay, that seems very Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, very much so. He's a robot that thinks he's Agent Coulson. So there we go. I think this is. I have a lot of time to catch up on this. I'll probably maybe binge watch it so I don't have to pay attention too heavily for these hour-long episodes. May 27th, I'm not saying banking on the economy being back to normal by then, but people will be out and about. So I think moving it to Wednesday while people are trying to get their weekends back from missing them will be a good place to put it.
I don't know. Let's hope. That's optimistic outlook, but we need optimism.
I'm trying so hard. May feel so far away, but we're almost there right now. Marvel's Future Avengers. You remember me talking about this the other day? The anime that was not dubbed, and then they dubbed it and released on Disney Plus.
Kind of.
Marvel's Future Avengers was an anime with the Avengers, and then they had 3 characters who were raised by Hydra, and then it's brainwashed that the Avengers were evil, and they end up breaking free and joining the Avengers and going on more adventures. Season 1 dropped, I think, this month or last month in March. They've already got season 2 coming out May 22nd on Disney Plus. I think it's only a 2-season show. Which is cool because the show came out in 2018, so they have a lot of modern characters, such as the Inhumans, including Miss Marvel, Kamala Khan, MODOK, Deadpool, so many other characters in Season 2. I'm very excited to watch this. As a whole, I don't want to wait and then watch it all and then wait another month for Season 2. It very well may be the only anime that ever drops on Disney Plus. No, I think they'll put more. Disney loves anime because anime is essentially art based on the old Disney styles. So
I don't know. I feel like a move that Disney would make is they would buy the IP of Dragon Ball just because it's just so lucrative and Disney could afford it if it ever went up for sale. So who knows? Maybe one day it wouldn't be weird to see Dragon Ball Z streaming on Disney Plus.
I mean, I'm hoping Disney Plus starts licensing out other properties. I get they want to put all their Disney stuff on there, but maybe they start licensing other things to put on there too, to make it a more one-stop shop, Mike, if you will. Maybe they'll buy Netflix. I doubt it. Netflix is worth more than Disney Plus right now, believe it or not. So Future Avengers, May 22nd. So if you're excited for that, animes, stuff like that, I'll be watching it at the end of May. So keep back on that. Speaking of Avengers, the Avengers game, Mike dropped a what you called a weird trailer, but what I call a standard video game trailer while we're in quarantine. showcasing the game's characters and the story plays in this. Which, if you've not been watching it, I watch this stuff. I'm on the subreddit for this all the time. I love looking at the characters, the new screenshots, new videos they're putting out every week. What do you think of this, Mike? Are you getting more hyped for this as we go?
The coolest thing I learned from this, which, like you said, this could have been out beforehand, but it's the first time I'm hearing of it, is that Kamala Khan is going to be our way into the story, into the game. So she's going to be the one trying to get the Avengers back together after the tragedy that happened with their Terrigen reactor.
On A-Day?
And I had seen this shot already, but that aircraft carrier that's flying around that lands in the San Francisco Bay, I was like, oh man, all that Terrigen's getting into the water. I wonder if that's going to do something. I wonder if they have the rights to, I would imagine they have the rights to anything that they want. Is Namor going to show up being like, hey, you're polluting my waters with your goddamn Terrigen?
Well, we were there in San Diego when we watched the full trailer, the full cutscene. This is how Kamala gets her powers. She's at the A-Day 5 years ago, gets exposed to Terrigen, and then she gets her abilities. I believe we're going to see more Inhumans as they go. They're going to release more characters, more levels, but I think this is really cool. What I didn't know, and I've been watching, that you use a junked out helicarrier as your base of operations, and you get to upgrade that helicarrier throughout the game.
Oh, that's cool. And it was cool getting a deeper look into the customization of how you can tweak. Like, I knew that you could cosmetically tweak your characters, but I didn't realize it would just very realistically change your gameplay style for how you wanted to play. So I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, if anyone's played Destiny, and we've talked about this with a friend of the show, Quentin Parker, you have different pieces of gear. Like Iron Man has a chest piece, arm pieces, helmet, feet things, and as you get them, it'll affect your attack, your defense, your statistics across the board. And then there's also skill trees. So if you are a long-range player, in like Iron Man, you could bump up your long range weapons, or if you're like Thor, you want to go in as a tank, you could bump up hammer attack, stuff like that. So I think there's a lot of options here for everyone to kind of fit their play style. Again, I've pre-ordered this quite a bit, and for Xbox and PlayStation. So if you're playing it, I want to play with you. So let me know if you guys are pre-ordering it. That game was supposed to be out this month, which would have been awesome while we're locked down. But by God, we have to wait till September. So
by God.
we'll hang out there. In the meantime, though, you can jump over to the free game, Fortnite. If you buy the season pass, which is $10, you can get Deadpool for free with that season pass. And all you gotta do is go find his his pants in a room, and then go back and then walk into a porta potty in the game, in game mode, and then you're Deadpool. It's pretty fun.
That's funny.
They've also added for free, or with that season pass, an X-Force variant. So if you like the black and gray look. But now, and I bought these, I'll admit it, they added custom skins for Cable, Psylocke, and Domino. So if you want to play X-Force, have your squad up as all 4 members of X-Force, you can. It's really fun. It's really cool.
Man, this is an advantage that I think a lot of people didn't realize that Fortnite had when they first came out, was their art style is very adaptable to other properties. Like, I think, is Apex Legends slightly more realistic look than Fortnite? Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, it's more detailed. It's more of a Call of Duty mix.
So it seems like the more realistic you get, the more like other IPs and studios might be like, I don't really, this seems to look a little bit too close to our characters. So Fortnite has this advantage of we can adapt pretty much anything, because everything looks like a cartoon character. So I kind of like this subtle strategic move that they probably didn't realize that they made when they made it cartoon at the very beginning. They probably made Fortnite the way it looked at the very beginning because it probably was less demanding on their servers, and it would probably spread across more consoles because it's not as graphically intensive.
What's really cool is even their models, if you have a dance move or an emote, every character can do it. It doesn't matter who it is. They have tested every emote with every character. So when they release all these, I'm getting Cable out there, dancing and doing stupid stuff, and it looks awesome and goofy as hell. But this is the second wave of Marvel skins. They did Star-Lord and Black Widow last year with Infinity War. They had an Infinity War mode, which was really fun. So I love the Marvel thing. They've also done DC. I have Catwoman. I got for free, and Batman was also available, so that's pretty cool.
Cool.
We're gonna dive into one last video game section here, Mike. This show's going on a little longer than usual, but I'm glad we have some real news here. Spider-Man 2, Mike, the video game.
Ooh, love it.
Mark this up as a rumor. However, people hacked into their Zoom call they had this week at the company. I think a lot of this might be real. Again, I'm going to just go jump to my bottom point. This is scheduled for holiday 2021, meaning you'll probably have to buy a new console to play this. Hopefully, they make a low-res version for the PlayStation 4, but we'll cross our fingers.
And as all video games, just expect a delay, and it'll probably be spring 2022.
Exactly. And any of these can change in a heartbeat. But Howard, the first thing is first, Mike. They have a symbiote suit.
Yes.
And every suit you have had, like, because there's like 20 in the other version, will have a symbiotic version. So
that's great. That's so cool.
So be expected for that, and you'll be able to push button into the symbiote suit like the previous game, Web of Shadows. So you're on the fly. The suit just takes over you.
That means like the symbiote and Venom and this cool new canon that they've made with like Harry Osborn being Venom is going to be a really important part to the story, which is it's going to be so cool. I love what they did with the story in the last Spider-Man game, so I love the idea of the symbiote really being in play here.
Exactly, and like it will be in Web of Shadows. If you did the symbiote suit, you got bumped up like beefy attacks. Your mobility was down, but you could like literally tank through people. So I'm expecting like the symbiote suit's more than cosmetic. It'll have some sort of a skill tree in and of itself, maybe, of different attacks and stuff like that. There will be dynamic missions, which I think the first one lacks sorely. Like if you're swinging through the city, someone's like, oh my gosh, they're about to fall off a window or building or something like that. And you gotta go catch them and bring them down, or like take someone to a hospital who's in like a wreck rather than just, stop a car that's driving around the block. You may remember these from the original Spider-Man 2 game from PlayStation 2 Xbox era. Characters who are mentioned to appear include Mysterio, Human Torch, Venom, J. Jonah Jameson, and Daredevil.
Oh, cool. I mean, Human Torch and Daredevil makes me excited because we didn't really... I don't think we got any heroes really in the first Spider-Man game. It was very much grounded in just the Spider-Man mythos.
Right, and people think that this ties into the Avengers game because he says that they went out to the West Coast, which is where the Terrigen reactor blew up. So hopefully they maybe tie together. But like, having Human Torch races throughout the city, doing side missions at night with Daredevil, that'd be really fun, I think. There's also going to be dynamic weather. 7 different types of weather, including like light snow, heavy snow, rain, and apparently like the snow will pile up on things, like including your suit if you're sitting.
Yeah, talking about dynamic weather in a map that big, and also I think there was a rumor out there that they might be expanding into Brooklyn and Queens, so it sounds like they're making the map even bigger, adding dynamic weather changes to it, which is a huge hurdle because the last game you could only change the weather manually, and then the screen had to refresh and change, and you had to see a loading screen, or they would hide the change behind a cutscene. Yeah. So it sounds like you are going to need the PlayStation 5 to really get all of the advantages out of this game.
Yeah, especially if they do that. I think I'm excited to see kind of how that plays off, and can they pull off? Because I mean, God of War, I don't know if you've played it yet or not, but like the snow in that game is just beautiful. Like the footprints and everything.
Yeah.
So. The last bit of rumor here is the DLC, a 3-set DLC again, focusing on Morbius, Carnage, and the character Wraith as well, which is, I think, another symbiote. So
cool.
That sounds just like what Sony would do with their upcoming movies. So yeah. Yep. And banked release date holiday 2021. I'm hyped for this game enough to go play the first one again, man.
Yeah, we all know we loved that game. It was great. Now Sony outright own the studio Insomniac before Spider-Man 1 came out?
No, they did not. They bought it after it did so well with this game.
So hopefully that's a good corporate acquisition, and they just get even more money and time and resources.
Well, I think that's a direct access to the hardware of PlayStation 5. Like, hey, look, you get direct access to the hardware. What do you need to make your game work? We'll make sure it's built into the game system as it comes out. So
yeah, that'd be rad.
Yeah, so that's exciting. Spider-Man 2, the game, high in our want list right now. The Mandalorian did a surprise announcement this week, saying that they're releasing a documentary about the show on May the 4th. Be with you.
All right.
8-episode series about the making.
Oh, that seems pretty long. But maybe this is kind of what you would see kind of in bonus features if you owned like a DVD of The Mandalorian or something like that. But I'm looking forward to learning more about that Unreal Engine, that real-time rendering of that like kind of 360 screen that they have on their sets.
Yeah.
That is cool as hell. So I don't know if I'll necessarily sit down and watch all of this, but I'm sure people will be clipping parts of it and putting it up on YouTube.
I mean, I think it'll be like 20-minute episodes. I think it's going to be like a small series, not a full series. So I'm like, yeah, I can sit down for 4 hours. Like 4 hours on an 8-hour thing. Like that's pretty standard bonus features, I feel. Like seeing the interviews with the characters, and I want to, the one where they had the bounty hunters. I really want to see the actors' interviews on that one. I think that was like one of the coolest ones. Because Mr. Krabs is the big red orange monster dude. So
Mr. Krabs.
Yeah. May the 4th be with you. That'll be out. Have you got any progress on your Clone Wars, Mike? I know you only watch it while working out, and
yeah, I mean, I wish I could, but I haven't made any progress yet, which seems crazy because you're like, Mike, you're in a quarantine. Why aren't you watching Clone Wars? Like, well, also I'm quarantined with my wife right now, so we're trying to find things that we both want to watch together. And unfortunately, when I get time to do something else, I'm usually playing Warzone. So yeah, but I see the Clone Wars is starting to wrap up.
Yeah, the final 4 episodes of this 12-episode season arc are starting. People have complained it's been slow, whatever. I don't care. I've had a really good time. And this last episode, the first of the final 4, sets up literally, you can see this in the pieces, Mike. Revenge of the Sith, the movie, Star Wars Rebels, the next series, and The Mandalorian season 2.
Oh, that's so cool.
Like they pulled no stops for this final. Like it is so wild.
Well, it's great. Cool. It's great because also there's so much creative people crossover between the Clone Wars and the Mandalorian as well. So, yeah, it really makes me want to jump back in there. Maybe I'll use my ramen girl strategy and just watch it on 2x so I can get through them faster, but I don't think I want to do that to myself.
Yeah, so what's cool, I would treat them like movies, Mike. I mean, most of them are 3-episode arcs, right? 4-episode arcs. Just like, I'll watch a movie today and like crank through 3 of them. What I think is cool, and as an artist, I think you'll really appreciate this. Clone Wars has updated their models every couple seasons, right? The technology they have now that they did not have 10 years ago is very apparent, and the models and the emotes and everything just look that much cooler with this. Like, it feels less computer generated. Like, I'm really digging this show, so I think you'll really love the newest season.
Let's get Ahsoka in the next Fortnite skin, people. Come on, that'd be cool.
They did do a Star Wars tie-in. They had like a Rey, Finn, and Kylo Ren and a Stormtrooper.
We want Ahsoka.
Yeah, I know, but like they got to start somewhere, right? Like, the movie's out. Let's tie in with that. So now, they could do Ahsoka. They could do. I'd like to see Obi-Wan, from like the prequel era, and like my favorite Luke Skywalker is Return of the Jedi when he goes to Jabba's palace in the black suit. So I'd like to see some of that. Do you know anything about Dune? I'm throwing this in here because I know nothing about Dune, and I tried to figure it out.
I was hoping you would know more about Dune. The things that I know about Dune are more about how Dune has just been a non-starter mostly.
For film and TV, not the books.
Yeah. Apparently the film, I know it's based on a book, but apparently the one film that was made, it didn't go over very well. I guess fans didn't like it. And then there was another director who earlier tried to make a Dune film, and it just totally collapsed on itself. I believe it actually went into production, and I think it went crazy over budget, and the director was like a madman. And then that story was so crazy, they made a documentary about how that Dune movie didn't get made. So I know that there's a lot swirling around about how this is like the one science fiction book that just can't be adapted. And then what's his face from the new Blade Runner?
Denis Villeneuve, yeah.
Yeah, he's the one that's tackling this next one. So I think that kind of turned people around going, hey, if anybody can do it, maybe this guy can.
Yeah, so Dune, from my understanding, is a book series written by Frank Herbert. I don't know who this is. He wrote a bunch of these books. Like, it's not just like one book. Like, there's Dune, and there was like Children of Dune, and then like 3,000 years later it jumps forward. Like, and all I know is the reference to spice, and spice controls the universe, whatever that means. But David Lynch made the 1984 movie with Kyle MacLachlan in it, and he had his name removed from the film on certain versions because they wouldn't give him Final Cut version permissions on some of them. And then they made a 3-hour TV version, which added like 50 extra minutes back into the movie. Then they did a series. I can't figure out what TV series, like what show it was on, but they did a 3-part miniseries in 2000, which I think was about as close as they got to anything. And then now we are at a 2020 movie, 2-part movie by Denis Villeneuve, I don't know how to pronounce his name, who did Arrival and Blade Runner 2049.
Both great movies.
And pretty much every big actor's in this, I'm seeing. We've got photos included in our notes, including Josh Brolin, a beardless Jason Momoa. If you want to
Very strange.
He looks like a vampire. Like, this looks like straight out of Twilight, does it not?
Yeah, he does look a little vampire-esque, doesn't he?
Yeah, and as the character named Duncan Idaho, which I think is like the only normal name in this thing. Oscar Isaac, and then Zendaya from Spider-Man is in this. So if you want to see those photos in there, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to try to learn more. I might try to watch the 84 version. I have put it on my Chris Flicks to watch. So
I think that obviously we don't know much about Dune, so take everything we say with like an idiot ball in our hands.
Yeah, like when we talk about Ghostbusters.
Yes, but the thing I would be worried about most about this film is this is based on a very iconic science fiction book that has been around for a very long time. So the story of Dune has already been influencing filmmakers and storytellers for a very, very, very long time, even without the story being adapted. So I have a feeling that once the story makes it the screen, there's a chance that the story could feel very stale just because we've been seeing kind of versions of the story already in cinema and in other books and TV shows for a really long time. Because isn't it just about the struggle between like the lower class people on the planet versus like the whatever the government of the planet?
Well,
I that's just my very loose interpretation of the story.
Well, my understanding from it's actually like it's very more political, and then like they go to the poor people to get them to side with the new rulers who are like the more benevolent people. And like then the main character doesn't want to actually, own up to like his legacy or like what he has to become, which is like omnipresent or something like that. I don't know. We are very not involved in this. I just need to watch this movie and read more about it.
So I mean, this sounds very bizarre me saying it. I'm not comparing it in any way to the Scarlett Johansson Ghost in a Shell movie. But Ghost in the Shell, unfortunately, had a similar problem where people had been ripping off the original story of Ghost in the Shell for such a long time because it was such an influential anime / manga. And then when they brought it back to the screen, like, 2018, none of the ideas seemed new or exciting because they were all just kind of very trite at this point in time. So I'm sure Denis Villeneuve, however you say his name, has taken this into account, and I'm sure the person who wrote the script was very aware.
I mean, I don't think Ghost in the Shell suffered from that. I think Ghost in the Shell is just a sucky movie.
Well, I'm not saying that's the only thing it suffered from, but
because when I think of Ghost, I don't think like, oh well, this has already been. I'm like, God, they didn't really try at all, did they? But I mean, will this movie ever be made? Will it get off the ground? Is this going to be too much? I think I tried to watch the 84 one once. Okay. It was way too much for me to take in. It felt like the 80s, those long shots that take like 3 minutes for someone to walk into a building kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of sand in this movie. It's a sand planet with sandworms. Will it be visually interesting to watch? Is the question.
It's coming out this year, so I gotta imagine that it's coming out at the end of the year because it's not. Nothing's coming out now.
It's December. It's been scheduled for December, but the fact that they give them 2 parts. Will the first half be enough to bring you back for the second? So hopefully that's a smart move on their behalf, and they know what they're getting into, really, before it's all said and done. Lastly, Mike, we talked about this, and we called it the director of Bloodshot, David S.F. Wilson, will be directing an award-winning sci-fi novel, Influx.
Hey, great! We love this guy. We thought he did a good job on Bloodshot. Good for you, man.
And I don't know anything about Influx, but it's about a physicist who finds himself locked away in a high-tech prison just as he's on the verge of making a groundbreaking discovery.
Is this a Prison Break movie? Oh my God, Chris, this couldn't have gone any better. I love Prison Break movies, and the fact that this is a Prison Break story set in a sci-fi world with like high-tech stuff, that is so cool. Man, Prison Breaks are just great because everybody is familiar with the setup. You don't have to waste any time explaining to people somebody is trapped and they're trying to get out. We already know everything that's at stake, so the person who's creating the story just gets to come up with all these clever ways of hurdles that they have to get over. And there's always a point in time where the main character that you're rooting for is smarter than everyone else, but then all of a sudden things get flipped around and then the bad guy's smart and they're going back and forth. Oh, I just love it. This sounds fun.
You son of a bitch. I'm in. Man, there's a ticking clock and his fellow inmates, his brilliant fellow inmates, so a bunch of smart people need to find a way to fight back. So I'm excited to see what this is.
There's a ticking clock involved now too.
Yeah.
This is great. Oh.
I am not going to look up this book. I'm just going to save it for the trailer. I'm just going to stay clear of this movie or this book
and this is exactly what I was talking about earlier, where I bet that there's fans of Influx out there who love this book, have been waiting to see it adapted forever, and then they see the news that says, oh, the director of Bloodshot's gonna make my book into a movie. Oh no. And it's just like, no, he did a good job directing the movie. You should be happy. Well, this will be good for you.
Bloodshot's been at the top of the digital list ever since it came out, so I mean it's doing well. So
but the digital list is the digital list. I saw they were really touting the numbers for the new Trolls World Tour movie that came out. The studio said that it was the biggest video on demand numbers they had ever seen, but they weren't going to tell you what those numbers were, so it's like we're never really going to know exactly.
You can find those from the different distributors, but I mean they have them, and digital matters now because that's all we have. So the fact that Bloodshot's been up there is good for him, and that he's already signing up for his next big thing, which seems very similar to Bloodshot, but we'll take it. We'll do what we can.
Good news, Influx people. This will be good.
There you go. Good news, David S. Wilson fans, all three of us. So okay, that's harsh. Well, Mike, that's our show. We've gone on and on and on and on, and I'm typing on this very loud keyboard to put in these time codes here for the end. But if people want to know what you're up to, what you're doing, where can they find you at this week, buddy?
Chris, this is just what happens when we start to throw video games into the show. Yeah. It really just beefs up what we get to talk about. So if you want to find me, you can follow me at Mike Royer Design on Instagram and Twitter, and you can read my web comics at pickledcomics.com. Chris, if people want to catch up with your light-changing lifestyle, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter, Valdan, Valdan, where I'm also been putting all of my old video projects that Mike and I talked about a couple weeks ago. I'm finally putting them up. I was putting them on Facebook, then I'm like, oh wait, some people on Twitter can't see that. So they're now on Twitter at the same time. And you also head over to Instagram, Valdan87. You can also head over to Comic UI. If people want to know more about our show, what we're doing, what we're up to, where can they find us at?
Well, as always, all you have to do is visit superheroslate.com. That's the best place to find all the places we host our show and to get our awesome show notes. We talked about a lot of stuff this week, so hit up our show notes to review before the quiz next week. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you'd love to listen to the podcast. Please like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and you can get merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Like I said at the top of the show, if you know anybody that was going to be tabling at San Diego Comic-Con and now that opportunity has been taken away from them, let us know. Reach out to us and we'll plug them on the show. And also, if anybody else has made any like kooky short films or any like old projects from back in college or maybe even high school, that stuff is always fun to watch because people are always afraid to kind of share that stuff and put it out there on the internet. But this is a safe zone for you to share your weird creative stuff. I mean, Chris made a short film about Jedis being noir detectives, which I thought was actually a really cool idea. So if anybody's doing any weird nerdy stuff like that, I really want to see it. Send that our way.
Yeah, it's we'd love to see it. And if you want to go watch myself, I'm cringing because I see it all, but like Mike understands how we made these in 2011, 2010 on those computer lab computers. I'm lucky I even got that far. So
yeah, like what's a frame rate? I don't know. Put the DV tape in the camera and hit record.
These computer lab computers have no graphics cards. How am I even running After Effects at this rate? I can't figure it out. We'll get there.
But we love our super fans of the show. So if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you gotta do is wash your hands and share the show with a friend, share the show with a buddy, and we'll be here every week, folks.
Yep, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right, adios.
Thanks for listening, and don't forget to subscribe.
Watched Superbad not too long ago. Superbad still holds up. It's still a good movie, and I'll fight for it. I've heard some people say it doesn't hold up, and I was like, I'll fight you.